My tiny 6-year-old legs climb onto the stage, and I turn to face an audience of beaming parents. The Rainbow Crow, I announce. I had memorized the entire book word for this all-important first grade show. But then I stand there, frozen. My mind is entirely blank. My teacher comes to squat beside me. She puts her hand on my shoulder and she whispers, "It's okay to tell the story in your own words. Like, remember, it's about this crow and it saves its friends and it starts as a rainbow crow, but then its feathers burn and become black." And I give her sort of a dubious side eye. Like, why would I do this at all if it's not perfect? Eventually, the opening line comes to me, and I blurt out the whole script, but it's too late. My parents, later that day, they say to me, "It's okay, you're not a natural performer, but don't worry, you're very advanced at other things." And I say, and they mean well, and I think it's okay, I'm not a performer. In my family, science and math and financial security are very important. And so I make those things important to me. And a few years later, when I don't make it into the Syracuse Children's Chorus, I give up singing. And then I take up magic because I'm cool like that. But nobody seems impressed with my sleight of hand, so I put aside my bag of tricks. In college, when I try out for my favorite dance troupe and I don't get in, I stop dancing. And I say to myself, it's okay, I'm not a performer, but I'm good at other things. And so I get a very coveted, high-paying job in industry, and everyone tells me how well I did. And later, when I join the tech world, secretly, my favorite things are emceeing the all-hands meetings and presenting at the offsites. But everyone knows, right? We all know I'm really good at the efficient processes behind the scenes. I'm not a performer. Earlier this year, I learned about this thing called the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. The Fringe is the largest arts festival in the entire world, in Scotland, every summer. But I had never heard of it in my kind of tech and business worlds. But I start to ask around and I learn, right? It's comedians and experimental theater and chaos in the streets, and everyone I meet who has been, they get this sparkle in their eye as they gush, "Yes, you have to see it for yourself." Have you ever made a choice that you couldn't explain rationally, and all you can say is, "I just have to do it"? I had built a career on rational analysis skills, and suddenly I find myself giving up my place in New York, booking an apartment for the entire month of August in Edinburgh, telling my venture capital job that I'm going to be in a different time zone, but that's okay because I'm going to work nights. At first, Edinburgh is awful. I know no one. I feel like I'm the only person there who doesn't know what's going on. Everyone seems to know the difference between cabaret and circus, and everyone seems to already know that clowning is a very respectable verb. By day, I feel like I'm the only one sitting alone in the theaters, and by night, I'm on cross-Atlantic Zoom calls with VC dudes and tech CEOs who are decidedly non-theatery. But the shows, I see a magician in a sequin dress examine animal rights. I see 3 different musicals about breakups. I see 2 clowns dissect love, and then a pair of dancers inspect loneliness. I see stand-up comedians who make sounds come out of me that I've never heard before. And I see a shocking amount of nudity. And some of the shows are not excellent. But some of them are stunning. There are 3,000 shows every year, over 3,000 at the Edinburgh Fringe, and there's this audience that shows up and they want to laugh and be moved and cry and be surprised, and there's this whole world that I didn't know existed where you're allowed to just be and say and create and do anything you want, even if it's not perfect, especially if it's not perfect. The last week of the Fringe, I show up just in time to get the last empty seat at Chris Grace's solo show. He is a gay Chinese-American comedian, and I'm watching him from the edge of the audience as he parodies Scarlett Johansson, and it is a commentary on the whitewashing of Hollywood, and it is personal, and it is brilliant, and I am breathless. And afterward, I want to go thank him, but instead my body carries me to go cry in the bathroom stall. And the combination of awe and connection and grief and purpose just floods out of me, disintegrating so much toilet paper. And I tell the venture capital firm that I work with that I need to scale back my hours because there's something I need to do. The last day that I'm in Edinburgh, I hike up Arthur's Seat. It's this ancient volcanic hill that has been looming over us all month. It is the sort of stereotypical Scottish day, so moody. There's like misty rain, but somehow you don't get wet. And the grays and the browns of the sky and the rocks somehow make the greens feel phosphorescent. And the crows, these big, dark crows, are cawing and flitting about as dramatically as the rest of the city down below. At the top of the hill, I sit, and the crow joins me about 10 feet away. He eyes me skeptically. My favorite detail in the rainbow crow, the story that I tried to tell in first grade, is that to this day, if you hold a black crow feather up to the sun, you can see the color still hidden inside it. And as a kid, I was always on the lookout for a crow feather so I could see for myself if it still had a hidden rainbow. I believe that we all know deep down what our dreams are, but they can be very, very buried under old stories and fears, and I'm certainly still working on unraveling the blockers in the way. But what if you could be surrounded by 3,000 examples of people trying and falling short and trying it again? And what if you could just be surrounded by this gift of permission? What would you try? As I walk down Arthur's Seat, I stop and I see something in the grass, and it's a feather. It's a dusty gray, ratty-ass seagull feather. It is not yet a rainbow crow feather, but to me it is a symbol of starting with good enough. Tomorrow, like present day tomorrow, is actually the deadline for registering for the Adelaide Fringe Festival, which is the second biggest one in the world. And I am registered. I will be performing a solo show in Australia come next February. I honestly don't know what the show will be. I don't know anything about what's to come. But I do know that I feel alive, and for the first time, truly, I wake up genuinely excited to work really hard on something, and I'm going to attempt to say out loud for the first time, and 3 decades later, and try not to freeze this time, my name is... My name is Narie Foster, and I am a performer. Thank you.